Morning. How are we doing?
Wonderful. I've just been for a walk around the compound and I didn't realise it's 48 degrees, so I've just about stopped sweating. Apart from that, everything's and safe.
I wondered why you're a little bit beetroot.
It's not a Manchester tan, that is it?
It is actually, yeah. That's the problem. It's an Aberdeen tan, definitely. Definitely. Nicholas. Does anyone ever call you Nicholas?
Yeah, my mum.
Your mum?
The only person. Yeah, it's Nicholas, yeah. Nicky I was called for a long time playing football. Don't know where they got that from. But Nicholas, when you hear that shout, Nicholas, I've done something wrong.
You've done something wrong. Yes. My wife never calls me Simon unless. Yeah, Simon, uh-oh.
Yes.
Nicholas Summerbee. Very, very good day to you, sir. How are you?
Wonderful. Well, yeah, good actually. Yeah, looking forward to getting back to work. All the Premier League starts tonight, and it's work. And then the QMB Stars League goes back on the 27th of July. So, looking forward to getting a bit of normality back. Really.
Fantastic. I always tend to ask this question: how long have you lived in this wonderful country?
Well, this is going into our 9th year. So
wow.
We've been here for quite some time and enjoyed every minute of it. It's a wonderful place to live.
Good to hear. And for those of you who don't know you, where's your career taking you now? And then we'll work backwards into your heydays. But what is it you're doing now in Qatar?
Well, I work for a television channel called Kass, which is a local channel, which covers the local football and everything around it, which is possibly a little bit more complicated because they have a spy. I would imagine we're going to talk about that later on. And it's all about the talent which we're going to see on show when the World Cup comes here. I work as well at beIN Sports, if I can get any slots on there when the time is right. So that's the Premier League, so that keeps me up to date with that as well. And it's just the excitement and the build-up really with the World Cup coming, and it's starting. It's not far away now, So I would imagine I get a lot more work building up to it.
It's not. Where were you when it was announced?
I was back in England then.
Yeah.
I was. I think I was busking at the time.
And was your initial reaction the same as the rest of the British press, and you were in uproar because England didn't get it, or 2018, or where did your mind go, and where's it gone now?
No, but the strange thing with that, which as much as the bad media, what Qatar gets is it was England's bid was separate to what Qatar's was. England got beat by Russia. And that was a separate thing, and then after that, because everyone was talking about England and them not getting it, and I think they got the worst votes in history, really. They had the royal family there, David Beckham, everybody there, and they were expecting so much, and it just never happened. But Russia never really got what Qatar have got. England turned on to having a go at Qatar and have done it ever since.
Yeah, picked on the little guys. I was with my ex-boss. In Dubai on the Palm when it was announced. The TV was on, but the volume was down, and I was the only idiot jumping around Biddy Bondi on the Palm when it was announced. My ex-boss Ralph was like, "What on earth are you jumping around at?" And I was like, "Well, I'm staying in Qatar for the next 12 years because they've just got the World Cup." It was an amazing achievement, irrespective of what anyone has said. It was an amazing achievement, and over the past 9 years. And a little bit more for myself, we have seen some amazing changes literally from the ground up on infrastructure and stadiums. Have you had a chance to visit any of the new stadiums so far, or have a walk around them being built? What's your experience been of the preparations?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. From when we first came here, obviously the Khalifa was originally here, but they built onto it. And at the end of every season, usually around about May, they have the Emir Cup, and every stadium which has been developed and finished they have it. They had the Wakra one last season, which is absolutely stunning, fantastic when you drive into it and you see it and the space inside it and outside it, and then I think the bar 2 stadiums which haven't been built, and it's the infrastructure going up to it and the roads and the railways, and I mean the stadium what is going to be the opening stadium and the final, when you go to that, it's more than the Shell now. It's phenomenal. I mean, what's that, 80, 90,000? It's the stadiums are they're ahead of what people expect them to be. So I'd imagine in possibly another year's time, if that, all the stadiums will be finished. And the building goes on 24 hours a day, as you know now. So that's all the infrastructure of building around it, hotels, etc., and everything else. So I think it's really get the foot down job really now. I mean, this has been a little bit of a problem, obviously, the coronavirus, but people have been working all the way through. And with us not going out and driving around a lot, when you do go out now, because it's a little bit more free, you see the work what's been done. You know, the new stadium, which is at the Corniche. The Khalifa Stadium, what I said, I remember the first EMEA Cup I went to there, it was 110 degrees outside. You walked inside, it was 22 degrees. It was freezing, you know, and it's an unbelievable state of the art to have that, like, just to walk into somewhere and have it's cold. I think the EMEA was there and he was too cold, he had to go outside. So it shows you really and the stadiums are phenomenal, and you expect that as well. You know, we went not long ago, Shuntor, but we went into the Ryan Stadium and saw that one. It was really, managed to stand in the middle of the pitch, and just to get that type of feeling that, you know, the world's going to be here and the world's going to be in this stadium watching it, some of the games, is very exciting.
No, it is, and I'm definitely excited. My dad turned around. This was a good few years ago now. He said, "How long are you staying in Qatar?" This was out of earshot of my mother, I hasten to add, because she's desperate for us to go back to the UK. "How long are you staying in Qatar?" I said, I'll probably be beyond the World Cup. And he went, "Well, you better be, because it's the only chance I'm going to get to go to a World Cup, because Scotland's not going to make it." So it
don't start being negative and all that. Don't start that.
You never know. You never know. It would be very fitting. It would be very fitting that Scotland's next World Cup that they make is in my home country. I would be absolutely thrilled if that was the case. But I'm also a realist, so I'm not expecting anything. But we'll see. We'll see.
You never know.
Stranger things have happened.
Listen, there could be another Ali's Army. Remember the team you had there? Ali's Army. Everyone thought they were going to win it then. And that's it. I'll just tell you there's a lot, you know, a lot of people don't, because they've never been here, don't understand it and can be critical. You know, I think me and you were possibly the same when we first came here. You know, but when you live here and you're with the locals, you're with everybody, it's a country which is going to surprise people a lot for everything, for the facilities, for how safe it is. You know, it's a very unique country, and that's why we know that. That's why our families are here. The other unique thing about it is obviously this is going to be a unique World Cup, because you can watch 3-4 games a day. You know, there is not a big distance between the grounds. I think Al Khor's the furthest one away, which is 40 minutes. The rest after that, you could possibly throw a stone to them. They really are close together, so it's going to be unique.
Well, if you look at Ras Al Khaimah Stadium, the container stadium, to Wakra Stadium, that's about 10, maximum 15-minute drive. Then you go round the corner to, the name escapes me now. But there's one just on E-Ring Road, which was designed by Ibrahim Jada. That's almost finished. And then you carry on along D-Ring Road and you get to Khalifa. Then you carry on along and you get to Education City. And then you turn left and you get to Al Rayyan. That's 6 stadiums in about an hour. If
you go to the Torch at Spire, that there is, but that's when you get to the top of that and you actually look and you can see them. You think, wow, you got the Khalifa right behind you. Then Ryan's not far away. It's ever so close, you know. But when we say close, there still is a little bit of space in between, but not anything like what we used to see. We just come off Russia, just come off Brazil before that. You know, it's not like
this that. This is it. You look at Russia. I remember probably listening to the TV pundits talking about where England's base was and where their first game was taking place, and it was a 10-hour flight.
Yeah.
It was like 10-hour flight to get to the first game. It's a 10-minute drive from the hotel to the first stadium here.
Absolutely, but as a player, they have the base. They will stay in a hotel all the way through here. They will have their own training grounds. I have to say as well, the training grounds are up and running. They're already available. There's one just around the corner from us here now. You know, and that will be something different, I would imagine, for the players in the World Cup. And better as well.
That's going to be very important. You know, as an ex-player yourself, how important is that, do you think? Because I don't remember the last World Cup that this would have happened, where all the way through the tournament, whether you get to the final, you would stay in the same hotel and have the same training facilities. That must be a major, major benefit to the players and their lack of fatigue and their fitness.
And the fans as well. You know, think about the money, what they will be saving as well from the travelling around. But yes, to have a base, to have a training ground, you know, is something different. And I think it's an advantage for the players, definitely. You know, this is
going to benefit recovery periods. It's going to benefit their fitness.
Well, just travelling, if you're doing a 10-hour flight, you know, we all know what flying does to you. It's not the best, really. So they haven't got that. So this will be a unique World Cup. This will be by far the best because of how different it's going to be and where it is in the world as well. You think about from Europe to get here, it's not a big flight at all. The time difference is nothing really. So that is unique as well. You see, from getting in and getting out, it's a thumbs up all round really for the players and obviously the fans as well.
Where's the risk? There's 2 years left. Where's the risk for Qatar at this moment in time? We can see stadiums flying up. We see roads flying up. The rail's open. You can get there. It's small. It's compact. But where's potential problems going to arise, and how can they handle that?
Well, the risk is the volume of people. I mean, this is the biggest global event in the world. You know, we live here, and it does leave you scratching your head a little bit. You think, well, where are all these fans going to go? You know, and they do. They drink. They go out. They're all from different parts of the world. Not trying to say that is the be all and end all. We saw a little bit of a clip when Liverpool came over in the World Club Cup, and they had the fan zones. That was interesting and exciting as well.
Yeah,
it was good to get all that. But it's just the volume of people. What was it? Was it 7 million, something like that in Russia? So that is what looks like to be the problem. But Qatar will solve that, and Qatar are very confident that is not a problem at all. You know, they've obviously been to the World Cups before. They've looked at it. You know, and that is there always is going to be a little bit of how they're going to do this, what they're going to do when people start drinking. Well, they seem to be on top of that and have ideas for that. They're going to have huge camps around. I mean, the weather will be totally different now. It's not like the heat what we're in now when the World Cup was supposed to be, which would have been very difficult. So they will do all these camps. They'll bring the cruise ships in, you know, and there'll be a lot of other things going on as well. So it's positive. You know, this is all people are going to see. Like, do you remember the criticism going into Brazil? And yes. The criticism going into Russia. I mean, there's so much negativity. It's about celebrating being in a different part of the world, celebrating what their life is all about. You know, it's their culture. It's not all about can they do us drinking and party. No, it's not always going to another country and celebrating and watching and supporting your team. You know, and the facilities are going to be next to nothing, and you will have everything laid on. There'll be so much stuff going on which is here. So when people do eventually get here, the ones who are very critical about it might end up eating the words. It's like when we came over here and we thought, what's going on? We don't understand this place. Well, we know different because we lived here with our families and we understand it. You know, when everyone does come over here, they'll go, wow, what a fantastic place. Safe to do what you want to do. Go on in your lovely restaurants. Get on the beach, whatever you want to do. There's going to be everything there for you. I'd imagine there'll be bands, there'll be everything. It's, you know, so it'll be very exciting. It's about embracing it. So do I look at them and think that they might struggle with certain? No, I don't at all. I think they're having major events. They're having major events building up to it. You know, just to test what it's like with certain situations. I mean, the Club World Cup was fantastic. That tested all the underground, the tubes and everything, a massive crowd. And that was a good test. They're unlucky because, well, I don't know if they're going to get it again because they're having it again out in December. If they're going to do the Champions League, then obviously they're going to get it again, and they're going to do all these major events and learn and get to know what it's like when big crowds come in.
I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited. I think it's because it's just around the corner. I mean, we've seen 10 years fly by since it was awarded, and to only have, you know, less than 2.5 years to go. And, you know, COVID was never going to be good timing. Of course it wasn't, but they've just managed to miss it. You know, as long as there's not going to be any major resurge in figures, again, there will be a concern of bringing people in a couple of years' time. If you're bringing in that amount of millions of people, then of course that's something else that they need to think about. But I'm sure they're going to put put the necessary precautions in place for a couple of years' time. So we shall see what it brings. But let's talk about the Qatar team, because you're obviously working very close with the league itself and the Qatar team. How proud were you when they won last year? I know I was proud. I was really, really pleased for them. But you've seen that progression of the team through the league and into the national team over the past few years. Were you surprised that they won?
Yes, I think everybody was surprised. We knew the talent. It's quite difficult because with the players, a lot of them are young players. I mean, I'll give you a bit of an idea. I mean, the league itself, I mean, there's been many big names since we've been here. Raul, Zico, you're looking at Xavi now. There's always big names which have been brought in to help. There's so many. Yeah, but that was a long time before that. But you've got Schneider who was here last year. You know, just big names which have come to help. To help the young players, and we have a place here called Aspire, which, if anyone's listening, you must look into what Aspire is all about. I mean, it has 2 5-star hotels, the best sporting hospital there, Aspital, and this is about getting these young kids and making them into footballers. They have all the best coaches in the world. The facilities are next to nothing. There's a new international area which has been built there, which all the big names in the world have been here, and they've looked at it and they've been like, wow, it has absolutely everything, from swimming pools with cameras underneath it to, I couldn't tell you, to go into it is just everything. They monitor your thought processes, everything about the body. It's an unbelievable place, and this is a huge facility, and this is where these players, they've got these players, and they teach them at an earlier age. And then obviously now the rewards are, obviously, these boys play all in the QMB Stars League. I'll mention a couple of them. There's a boy, Akram Afif, who is the golden boy. He is the main example who came through Aspire. And what a player he is. You will see him, he plays on the left-hand side, and he's a very, very exciting player. When they come through Aspire, then they farm them out. They go to Austria, they go to a couple of countries, I think Belgium as well. Then they come back and we have them in the league now, and these are the boys now. Not just him, Moez, there's a lot of key players, Medibu, all these players which now are the ones who are going to play in the World Cup, and these are the boys who went on and won the Asian Cup. Now you think about all the other countries, Australia, China, the money which is pumped in there, a little old Qatar went and won it. And we get to watch these players in the league, and we think, I wonder what they're going to be like on the world stage. I wonder what, we know the quality of them. Is it too easy, the league, for them? And for them all of a sudden to watch them on that big stage and to do what they did was wow, and the thrill for everybody involved is, I think a lot of credit goes to Aspire, but a lot of credit goes to the league as well. That's huge. That is putting Qatar on the map. And I don't think they expected it. But any publicity towards the World Cup is big publicity, and they could not buy that, because it shows that what all the hard work which has been put into Aspire, that all of a sudden there's your reward there at the end. These boys can play football. They played in the Copa America last year. They held their own in that, playing against the likes of Messi and the likes of that, and they're getting this massive experience. I mean, we cover a tournament which is the end of January, February, called the Kass International Cup, and this is under 16s, under 17s, sometimes under 15. Well, there's over 30 players now playing Champions League around the world, and these players are fantastic. I mean, you have Aspire they've been phenomenal in it, and that's these boys who started off playing in that. Now all of a sudden are playing for the international team. So they play regular tournaments. So they play your Barcelonas, they play all your worldwide teams. So these boys are no pushover at all. So whoever they go up against, you're not talking about a load of lads who've been dragged out from the desert and don't know what's going on. These boys can play football and have been taught the right way.
Like you said, that's what Aspire brings, as well as the local tournaments. That's what it brings to these up-and-coming under-16s, under-18s, 19s, etc. They're not just remaining. You mentioned that pretty much the majority of the Qatar team are playing in the QNB, QSL, Qatar Stars League, but they've gone beyond that. They are going beyond that as they're growing and as they're evolving as players, and they are being pitched against the best of the best of their equivalent ages, such as your Barcelonas, your Real Madrids, and the equivalent European teams. And they have come on leaps and bounds, because a lot of people, probably you and I included, when it was first awarded, they were nowhere. And it was a long time ago. It was 10 years ago, and things obviously changed. But like many things in Qatar, it expedited their plans. It expedited the 2030 vision became the 2022 vision, or at least 80% of it. And that was both on infrastructure as well as sporting evolution. They then started to bring in more events, sporting events and non-sporting events. So it's definitely helped Qatar evolve as a country on the sporting front, and trying to get some more positive PR rather than the negative PR that they've had in the past. And I'm excited to see how well they do. They're definitely going to be very well supported. Everyone has their favourites and their favourite teams, but I'm sure they'll do well to hold their own. And of course, Aspire takes a huge plaudit for that. I've had the privilege. I wouldn't say it was a privilege to be treated at Aspetar, but I have been treated at Aspetar, and it's an amazing facility. And I've had the privilege of playing and winning inside the dome at Aspire, which is the 5G pitch there. And it's an amazing facility if you do a tour of it. But let's have a little step back in time. I'm sure you've had these questions before, but let's reminisce a little bit. So we had a brief chat about this. And I've got all my notes written down. 3 generations of your family were professional footballers. When did you know? When did you always know that that's what you wanted to do? Was it driven into you, or was it just a natural family progression from your father and your grandfather?
Well, what it was with Dad is I used to, obviously living in Manchester, I used to go to the games with Dad. But we used to go to Main Road, which is the old Manchester City Stadium. And there was a guy there called Stan Gibson. Now Stan Gibson was the groundsman, so we never used to go in the directors' boxes. We used to sit down with the groundsman that used to do all the divoting on the pitch and all that. So I used to go in, and obviously all the fans went crazy when they saw Dad, and to other clubs as well. And I just wanted a bit of that. And when I used to watch the players, and when you watch it on that ground level and you get the atmosphere there, it was wow. That's what I want to do. And you have it as a gene. It's in you. My dad's dad was George Summerbee. He played for Preston North End with the likes of Tom Finney and Bill Shankly. The great Bill Shankly that went on to make Liverpool what they are today. But he struggled to football. What's the word to say? He found it difficult to be very successful. He travelled around a lot, and this is what football is all about. Same with me, I had some good parts, other parts. It was my career was not about winning trophies. I had fantastic times, but I was relegation battles, few promotions, blah, blah, blah. It's a different thing. Dad was winning things, and things went well. For George, it was a little bit difficult because he was trying to get, everyone wants that success. Everyone wants, and he found it difficult, and it was interesting. He went on to managing after, still had a career out of it, but he died very young. I don't know what it is, but it's something which they found out was curable. So he never got to see Dad play, and he never got to see me play. But the gene was definitely there. And when Dad was with, Dad used to take Tom Finney everywhere, and obviously used to speak about George, what type of player he was. And he had one of the longest contracts. His contract was 12 years at Preston North End. Because the war came. When the war came, it paused it. Yeah. And then when he came back, but he represented England in a prisoner of war camp. So you get England caps for that as well. So it's quite interesting, the story of it. I have an uncle as well, which is Gordon. He's played football as well, but never met Gordon. Gordon Summerbee. I think they're all down in Southampton area. But the main one was Dad, obviously, and Dad was. I started off at Swindon, the same as Dad. Dad started at Swindon. He went to Man City. I went to Man City, but it was slightly different from there. It was. I got relegated. Dad went on. He went from the second division. Ended up getting. It was the glory years, the Belly and Summerbee. You know, it was good times, and he's an ambassador there now, Dad. You know, and to see what's actually going on with the club now and where it is now, it's on the world stage. So he's delighted, really.
I mean, it's such a vast difference from, let's call it the 70s to the 2020s, so it's like 50 years. Was there a distinct difference in the quality of football and the club aspect? You know, it's now become a business. It's now a money machine. It's now about sponsorship deals and rights and image rights and players' contracts. From your father's playing era, from on the pitch to your playing era, was there a much technical difference in football styles and evolution, do you think?
Well, it's difficult. That's why it's very difficult to compare. When Dad played, it was the pitches. The pitches were awful. You know, you go there and you go to the grounds now. I mean, they used to play the reserves there. When I started off at Swindon, you know, we would play our reserve games at the start on our ground. We would go to Highbury because we play all the teams in London. You play at White Hart Lane, Highbury, all those clubs. Now you don't do that at all. The pitches are absolutely fantastic, and they don't play reserve team football on it at all. It's separate, but it's a totally different game. And I think the pitches go down to that. That's why it's very difficult to compare, say, Messi against Maradona, because look at the pitches what Maradona. You'd have to say the physical aspect as well. You know, I mean, it was very physical when my dad played. Ours was quite physical, but it's not so much now. But I do look at the players now, and I look at the shape and everything and what they're in, and it's so scientific. It's so, you know, for example, you look at Pep Guardiola. He has 60 staff. You know, and they have, it's huge. It's, you know, these players are looked after, and I think you look at the players and they look like boxers now. There's nothing on them. You know, they are athletes, and the fitness levels aren't any different. But you just look at the shape in which these players are now. You know, the bodies and everything look fantastic. And would I change from me playing to now? No, because I loved it. I liked it. I thought the physical side of it was good. We need a little bit more of that now, you know. And I wouldn't change it.
I agree.
And I say all the very best to the players now. You know, it's what you have everything there for you. If I was going to start off and try and be a professional footballer again now, I would not go to Manchester City, or Chelsea, or United. I would start off in a lower league. And I would learn how tough it is on a bit of a bobbly pitch, you know, playing your 60 games a season. Then all of a sudden, everything above that is wonderful, and you play on the wonderful surfaces. I just think some of the players now are a little bit spoilt sometimes, and when it gets a little bit tough, they don't know what to do because they're used to this fantastic facilities, you know. And I think you've got to have a little bit of that inside you. Football's a mental thing.
Massive.
You know, it's not going well. It doesn't go plain sailing all the way along. You get dropped, you get injuries, you've got to get back in the team. It's all a lot mental as well, you know. So it's all about that. You've got to be a little bit tough in your brain as well.
And so, just touching on that, we won't go too deep into it, but do you think that definitely footballers have changed? You know, if you look at the physicality of footballers, from my perspective, we're talking English football for the basis of it, but you look at, you know, even when people like Graham Souness and Andy Gray, from a Scottish perspective, Kenny Dalglish, there were still some physicalities back in your sort of Norman Hunters and your Billy Bremners and things like that. They got stuck in. They weren't in a position really to do the finesse. But the pitches didn't really change until probably, I would say, I've seen some of the recap games because of the football's not been on. You know, back in the mid-90s, there was still some horrendous pitches in comparison. It was only into the 2000s that they really started to change. But the mental status of the players has really changed. And you know, I'm not going to go into details about my team and your team and various things like that, but let's talk about people like someone like Samir Nasri. Right, I'm going to choose both sides of Manchester, right? Let's just, for argument's sake. So Samir Nasri was, I felt, a very, very tenacious, quite a good player. It seemed to go off at a tangent. Very, very spoilt. Wasn't very well liked from what we're understanding. And then let's choose a similar player. I'm not going to go the Pogba route because that's a whole different conversation. Let's look at Alexis Sanchez. You look at Alexis Sanchez, and Sanchez has come from playing every week at somewhere like Arsenal, with whatever the deal happened with Mkhitaryan, goes to Manchester United, and is not the same player on the pitch. They're similar builds, they're similar characters, they're similar positions, and they've gone off the rails. They were both at Arsenal. Yes, sorry, Nasri was at Arsenal as well. So they've both gone to Manchester clubs, and for whatever reason, their careers have taken them in different paths, and they've then had to go international. Where does the mentality come in that? Because you don't become a bad player overnight. Is it because they're spoiled, and is it because they expect something better because that's the way that they've been molded?
Well, Nasri, I think it's just a bit of an attitude thing there. Maybe, it's all ego, football. It's all about, you've got to have belief in yourself. Sometimes you can have too much, be a little bit cocky there. And I think that's maybe come to bite him a little bit. What I would do is I would compare Nasri to David Silva. Now, now the same type of players. Now, David Silva is finishing his contract, but he's leaving Manchester City. You've never heard of him off the football pitch. It's all about what he has done. Now, that is, to me, a 10 out of 10. That's what Nasri could have been, that, because he was playing with him. And somewhere along the way, he only got himself to blame, because he has the ability. We know the quality he's got, but he's not gone on the route as a David Silva. So I'd put those two the same there. David Silva, I couldn't give a man any more praise, because you don't know what he does away from football. You don't hear him getting dragged out of bars or anything like that. It's all about football, and he has churned it out, and he's been absolutely fantastic with Manchester City, a legend for Manchester City. Sanchez, I don't believe he'd become a bad player overnight. I think he obviously went for the money, a huge fee. Yeah. And when you do go to a football club, it takes a little bit of time, and maybe it plays on you, that fee. But I think somewhere along the way, you cannot become a bad player. That is down to coaching. I think when Mourinho was in charge at the time, surely you brought the player in. I suppose you look at Pogba as well now. You've got to get a grip of him. Someone's got to. You've got to get hold of him. You've got to do your man management. You've got to get the best out of him. Sanchez can't be a bad player. And I just think he came in, he struggled with it, and I just think there was nobody there really to guide him and to get him, put a shoulder around him, to tell him off, whatever, and get him back. So surely it's a coach's job at a certain point. I know there's a lot of money going about, but a coach has to say, I tell you what, try coaching him. You've got to get him. We've paid all the money. You've got to get that man back. I don't care what you do with him. I don't care if you've got to go eating with him every night. I don't care if you've got to cuddle him. You give that guy's got to start playing again. And I just think that didn't happen. And I feel a little bit for him, because it can't be as bad as that straight away. And hopefully he does come back and he gets it going. But yeah, he can't become a bad player overnight.
It's interesting. I don't know what your experience was, or if you've ever met the man. I've only met him in passing, but obviously I'm an Aberdeen born and bred lad, and I grew up with my father. Still to this day, his expectations have not diminished on Aberdeen winning things. But he was through the '80s era and with Sir Alex Ferguson. But I remember watching a particular video with the late great Teddy Scott, who was the kit man at Aberdeen, wonderful servant to the club. And there was a story about Ferguson going to the board and asking for money in the 80s. And they said, we're sorry, there is no money. You have to work with what you've got. And that's exactly what he did. And he basically nurtured and coached and managed and took the team that he had and was able to adapt it to play against whatever squad it was. It could have been Rangers, it could have been Real Madrid in 1983. Do you think that coaching is more now about the blend of the players and obviously spending the money, but we'll put the money to the side, rather than actually adapting the players, the individual players themselves? Is there too much focus on the money rather than actually coaching the players? Possibly again because of their mental status and their attitude. Are some players uncoachable? It's completely changed the game. Where do you sit on that?
Yeah, but that's where a manager has to, that's where listen, there's quite a few scenarios, and it's a good question. I like it. There's a video on Netflix at the moment. It talks about, it's called Sunderland Till I Die. It's a former club what I used to play for. And Coleman goes to the club. They're in the second division at the moment. And when you watch it, you get an insight to there's a problem in the dressing room. There's something not right in that dressing room. Now that's a problem for a manager, because you can't get rid of them. They've probably got a few years left on the contract. There's a cancer, if you like, in the dressing room, and it is very difficult. I'd love one day to have a chat with Coleman about it. He possibly made a mistake going there at that time because he came with a big reputation of coming from Wales and doing fantastic in the Euros. Yeah. And he's just gone into a situation where you get it like that. You get it where the dressing room, there's players that aren't in the team, so they're causing a problem. And it's a very difficult. I would imagine that as a manager is possibly one of the hardest things to do. If you do that with Alex Ferguson, I think you're up against a man who's been brought up a tough way. So he gets the respect no matter what. You know, and I've been watching, with this lockdown, what's been going on, I've been watching so much things which are very interesting. I mean, you look at all the teams throughout the years. You said about Liverpool, straight away you think of Souness. You think of Roy Keane at Manchester United. You think of John Terry at Chelsea. You have to have somebody in there who is that person that nullifies if there's any problems there, they sort it out. And it's so vitally important to get somebody in there that has that drive, has that enthusiasm. I think to work off the manager as well, you know. But that is it's a great question, but it's a problem. You know, it must be great to go into a club and everything is right, and those players want to fight for you. All you're doing is encouraging them and telling them what to do. But if you go into a club and there's that problem in there, very difficult to iron it out because it's financial. You know, there's some of these guys are on big money. The other boy, Rodwell was on 70 grand a week and they got relegated. And the fans are saying he should give his money in. Well, he shouldn't, because the club gave him that contract, you know. So there's so much, when you look at it, why they're in problems and all that. Now, they're on the club runs now, Sunderland runs at 25 million a year loss. So somewhere along the way, someone's not financially done their homework on the club, so it's got themselves in trouble. But going another side, when I played, the route to getting in the first team was quite simple. It was a youth team, reserve team, and then you got in the first team. Now, they don't have these leagues, which is not very good for me. So they go up to under 18s or whatever. But say Pep Guardiola, he doesn't know what his players are like playing against men. So for me, when I played for Swindon Town and I played in the reserves, I would play at Highbury against Paul Merson, against Andy Cole, and all of a sudden you played against a man. And that is when you gauge what you're all about, the strength of him and blah, blah. And that's why it's difficult. It's hard for the likes of these Guardiolas and other managers like that to put these players in, because it's a gamble for them. And they can't.
They've only got the League Cup now, haven't they?
Yeah,
they've only got things like the League Cup to put them in.
But it's very difficult for them. They can't in the league because you can't lose points. And that is all financial. It's not just Manchester City, it's other clubs around as well. So it's very difficult for these boys, these lads, trying to work their way into the first team and getting that opportunity.
So they end up getting played in the Carabao Cup or Coca-Cola Cup, or that only happens at 3 or 4 games a season, depending on how serious the team is about it. Even Liverpool. Liverpool had the scenario about the Club World Cup. Do we play in the Cup or do we come to Qatar? Obviously, end up playing both.
But you're not playing that regular football. So that's why these boys have got to go out and they've got to go and play. You go the divisions below the Premier League. That's 60 games a season. Your Saturday, Wednesday, you've got to learn, because when you come in, you make mistakes. I made tons of mistakes, and that is, you've got to learn quickly, and it's very difficult for these lads. You go back before and you talk about the infrastructure and all that. It's hard for them to get through. Do
you think the type of player that you were referring to, the type of sort of the Roy Keane, because I was very much that player. When I hit about 14, I became that player. I became very annoying, very aggressive, battling. I would come from the left wing into the centre to win a header from a goal kick and things like that. Put in the tackles, pick up the yellow cards, get sent off, but still be the annoying one, but still grind it out and still work with your team, fight with your teammates and things like that. That kind of player of a Roy Keane, a Tony Adams, a John Terry, you're even I'd say someone like a Yagi.
Look at Tony Adams. Look at a Tony Adams at Arsenal. You look at all throughout the years, teams what have won. They have that person in there. They have that person that gets hold of them players. As that drive, as that when things aren't.
Is that player become now obsolete? Is that player? Tell me the new generation of those players that are coming through, because I don't think United has that. I think City had it in Company, but you take Company out of that, who's now replacing it? John Stones is not going to do it.
Well, I'll give you an idea what happened to City this season without Company. You know, I mean, the crazy thing with City is they score more goals than Liverpool. You know, how can
I mean, you look at something like Liverpool.
Yeah, but the 26 points ahead, Liverpool, and it's so blatantly obvious. City have got no defence, so that gives you that tells you everything. Company comes out, and it's not just him as the player; it's the man in the dressing room. It's that person that gets hold of it. We had a guy called Kevin Ball when we went to Sunderland, and all his teeth were wired up because his jaw had just been broken. And you won't get on the wrong side of him, but he ran everything, and he nights out. He was off to a tee, and apparently someone went to his house once, and they opened his garage up, and he was that organised. He had lawnmower with a sign above it, rake sign above it. He was like one of these people, but you need that, and you think I ain't going to get on the wrong side of him. And if the game's gone on and you're not pulling your weight, and someone tell you, that's what you need, something like that. The closest to it now, who would you say? John Terry. A leader.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I am respectful of, and I'm not a City fan either. I'm respectful of teams that do well and work well. I've got great respect for Klopp. I would have had him as a manager. At my team, Guardiola, it's second to none. His personality. He spent quite a bit of time in Qatar, as you probably know.
Did Al Ahly?
At playing days. Huge respect for these people, but I remember a good few years ago now, someone slated Jordan Henderson. He just moved from Sunderland, funnily enough, to Liverpool, and people were questioning his caliber as a Liverpool player, as they have with a few people that have maybe moved to Liverpool, Andy Carroll and Charlie Adam and people like this that maybe just Paul Konchesky just not quite fitting into the Liverpool mold. Tell you something, he is probably, to answer my own question, the only person that I can think of now that Terry's out of there, Jordan Henderson is that player. He'll fight. He might not be the greatest, player or finesse, but you look at someone with the right attitude, then you can't really get much better than him at the moment. And hence he's being tipped as certainly nominated and close to being the Player of the Year, which is fantastic. Yeah,
I agree. I think that's the manager's possibly got a lot to do with that. It does help when somebody believes in you. It's very hard to, when you know that, the manager's got your back and you got someone, the manager's with you, and it's someone like Klopp. And my dad was part of successful teams, and if you talk about City, they talk about Bell, Lee, and Summerbee. It wasn't about that. It was about the whole team, because there was a guy called Rodney Marsh that came into it, which was a winning formula. And Rodney Marsh came into the side, and he was a showboater. He was an individual, and it messed it all up. It didn't go right, because all those players, it worked. Whatever it was, it worked. And it's not all about, if you've got your flair players and your ones that can do that bit of magic, brilliant. But it's those other players behind. It's like your Jordan Hendersons. It's your ones there. They're so vitally important. It's not just saying, hang on a minute, we're going to buy Messi next week. It's not about that. It's about the other players that be able to give them the ball at the right time. And there's so much to go into it. But definitely you need those players. You need like your Subases, you need your Roy Keanes, your Terrys, just in that dressing room. I've just been watching pure television, obviously the same as everybody else at the moment. But I watched the Last Dance
some of us have to work, Nicky.
Oh, you're grafting. Okay.
Grafting.
Oh, okay, that's the word. Yeah, right. Sorry about slipping into. Yeah, but I watched the Last Dance, which is with the basketball player Jordan, and you want to see someone who is determined. You look at Ronaldo now, and you look at his day, what he does on a day. He goes training, he comes back, and he trains and he pushes it. And he's one of the best players in the world. Jordan, the best player in basketball. There is no easy way. They have the talent, but it's that hard work. It's that. Yeah. I never did it. I like going out. I like these guys. You look at these. If you're going to be in modern day sport now, you've got to have this determination, this drive, and there is no. You look at these players. You think, well, why are they the best? Why is Jordan the best? Why is Ronaldo? Well, watch their videos, because every day they live it. And you think, wow. You know, they get up and they have this drive, and when they win trophies, they want more, and it's quite interesting. You've got to have people like that in your team.
Yeah, and again, I think it's such a touchy subject, and we'll just briefly talk about it. Is the media aspect? I mean, we obviously see what the media is doing to sort of politics and with things like COVID and things like that. But when you're in the public eye, you know, not only are you having to look at your physique, and you're looking at what you're eating, and you're looking at your attitude, and you're obviously working with your players and trying to drive some chemistry, but you've got to make sure that you're not doing anything silly and jumping in a car like Mr. Rooney did, you know, a couple of years ago or whenever it was. You know, Ronaldo keeps himself away. You mentioned David Silva. I wanted to comment on someone that I've got an amazing amount of respect for, and I would love one day, and you never say never, I had the privilege of meeting someone like Vince Vaughn at the end of last year. I would like to meet Mr. Beckham one day. And the reason that I'm so keen to do so is my respect for him, even as a Scotsman. Back in 1998, when I was at the time only 17, and he was obviously petulant, and he was dismissed against Argentina for, I'm sure, something that he will admit himself was wrong. He goes through a period of some of the worst treatment that I've ever seen for a player from his own fans. And then you fast forward, please correct me on this date. Was it 2004, 2003 when he scored against Greece? What year was it?
I don't know. You done me there.
I'm not sure,
Well,
but you know, the famous goal.
Yeah, it's a fantastic goal, unbelievable, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
So at that end, Stretford End, at Old Trafford, he's suffered 2, 3, 4 years of absolutely the worst abuse, and the media have obviously stuck it to him. I've seen people hanging dolls from lampposts and things like that, and then bang, all of a sudden he scores a goal and he's the saviour again. And then you fast forward again to when Sven-Goran Eriksson was the manager, and I think it was 2006. I think it was Germany 2006. England didn't have a great World Cup, but Beckham was the one that seemed to be pulling them through. He scored the penalties. I think he beat Argentina. I think he scored a sort of a dodgy goal against Algeria, I think it was, at 1-0. There was a 0-0 game. Might have been 2010, actually. Forgive the dates. But again, when Steve McLaren came in, he was the only scapegoat. He was the only one to really be chopped and suffer when he basically resigned as captain. To have that mental capacity to go from up here with United, down here with England in 98, up here with United in 99, and keep doing that throughout your career and still have a smile on your face. And again, to have the career that he's had outside of football, resolve his differences with Ferguson, which I think was important for both of them to do so. I've got a massive respect for the guy. He gets a lot of pelters and has done over the years. Have you had any experiences with him yourself? And what was your thoughts on how he was treated and how players are treated within the media?
It seems it's very much the norm. Back in England, it is like that. There's so much negativity, writing. You know, it's half the stuff you just can't read. It's so negative. It needs to be, you know, you need to be positive. But for him, I mean, I only played against him because I was pretty much coming to the end of my career, and then you know he was flying at Manchester United. But you know that's when I go back to what I was saying before, is you need character. You know, when you bring these boys up now and you look after them too much, it's situations like that. You know, you look at boxing, someone knocks you down, you've got to come back the next time and try and win the fight. That is what life's all about. But there is nothing better there's nothing better than proving people wrong. There's that good feeling there, you know, and when Beckham did do that, you know, that's inside him forever. So he knows how strong he is. He knows the abuse, what he took. And all of a sudden to turn it totally around and score a goal like he did at Greece, there must be no better feeling. And that's what we're like that. You know, we build them up, we knock them down, we feel sorry for him. I tell you what, that is the way the media is. Do I like it? No, not at all. You know, that's why, you know, if we think about some of the England teams, what we've had, and some of the players who we see in the Premier League, we know the quality of them, but once they meet up with England, it just does not happen. And there's a pressure there. I don't know if we think it was a divine right because we won it in '66. You know, it's like it's ours. It's coming home. Any slight thing. It's all this type of stuff.
Say that again. Did you win something in '66? No one's ever told me that. I remember what happened in 1967.
Was that when
That's
you
for
were on
all
the
my
old,
Scottish. That's for all my
on the old
Scottish friends
turf?
out there.
Wasn't it?
Honestly, it doesn't matter who you interview from England.
Flares
You've
all
always
night.
got to get it in 1966.
Oh,
Honestly,
flares.
my father was right who you
I
are.
had to. I brought it all the way around. I thought I've got away now. But
We're going to edit that bit out. We're going to edit it out, Nicky.
But
Shocking.
then, listen, I gave you a bit of Ali's Army. What's the matter with you? Give it a little bit of that. No, but they. Do you remember Asa Hartford? Asa Hartford used to be at City. He was great, Asa. And he was. We did a talk one night, and he was saying, because he was with Ali's Army, Alan Hansen, Souness, Dalglish. He said that they went out and they flew out to the World Cup, and they're in business class at the front. It's fantastic. He said about 4 days after, they're all shoved in the back of the plane going home. He said, because you look at the team, what they had then was fantastic, which never really happened.
Phenomenal.
But going back to with those players there, every time there's a World Cup or something, it's just this, like, we should be winning it. And I don't understand why these players, there's a bit of a pressure. And for Beckham to go and do that as well internationally, is fantastic. And obviously going on and playing at Real Madrid and going on what he did as well at LA Galaxy, which is phenomenal. It's just success all over. And that is who the man is. I think I gauge people. I mean, you have some of the players in the Premier League now who are on massive money and things don't go well for them. That's when I want to see them. I want to see what they're all about then, because that's what it's all about. That's when things are going well and you're winning 5-0, it's all good then. You want to see it when it gets a little bit tough. And when they do come through, you go, brilliant. That's what whoa, I love that. Fantastic. And that's
what Ferguson seemed to instill that on a lot of his teams, because he obviously had 3 or 4 teams throughout that tenure, maybe even more than that. But you're 2-0 down, you're 3-0 down against Tottenham, and you've still got that mental ability to drive and determination to come back and win those games. And certainly in the sort of the Fergie times of 96 and 97 minutes. So yeah, it's very much on the character of the manager and very much on the character of the player. Let's have a very, very quick fire round to finish off on your time as player. Best player you played against?
I'd probably say Cantona. I mean, Cantona was when you look what he did for Manchester United from when he came from Leeds. I know they had the young players coming through, but he was the one that changed it. And he was a fantastic player. I was lucky to play against Thierry Henry when he was playing on the left. I loved Mark Hughes when I first went up. I was just in awe of the strength. He used to lead the line on his own. But I'd possibly just say Cantona. He was. We played a game. I played in quite a few Manchester, Man United, Man City derbies, and we played one at Main Road once. So we put a guy, Ian Brightwell, on him to mark him, to man mark him. So this was his plan. I mean, the adrenaline of the game, it's, you want to get that first touch. It's all hyper. So wherever the ball was, he ran. So say it was on the right-hand side of the ball, he took Ian Brightwell out to the left-hand side. He just stood there in the middle of nowhere. So wherever the ball was, for the first 5-10 minutes, he was not going to touch it. So this Ian Brightwell's going, he wants to get his first touch. The adrenaline's pumping, and he's looking at the bench. He's going, what do I do, Ian? What do I do? And eventually, he leaves him. He said, I've got to get involved in the game. Worst thing ever. Your adrenaline calms down and he just starts taking control. And to go out with that sort of attitude to say, right, okay, let's see what this man's going to do. If he's going to man-to-man mark it, I'm going to make him look stupid for the first 10 minutes. And he did it. And it was just like, and after that, he starts getting involved in the game. And a big guy as well, by the way, big, strong guy. And all of a sudden, he started to run the game. But that's what I remember that, and just couldn't. He was a phenomenal player. He came in then, and he was that player to change Manchester United.
Great answer. Best player you played with?
I mean, I played with a guy called Georgie Kinclatsey at City.
Oh yeah.
Little Georgian he was. If you like your football, you like your goals, get onto your YouTube. I mean, he scores a goal against Southampton when he gets on the halfway line and goes through 5 players. Dave Besson's in goal, but his career never went on. We got relegated later on that year. I think that year with City, and he went to Ajax, but it never really the potential what he had. I was with him at training. You look at him now. I mean, he's a legend at City now, but he would suit playing for Guardiola now. He's only small, and he he came to City at the wrong times to him, and obviously I'd say another one as well, Kevin Phillips, the one who's at Sunderland.
Oh, okay.
They got him for 400,000. They got him for £400,000 from Watford. I mean, that's good money. That Golden Boot winner. What a goal scorer! Absolutely phenomenal goal scorer. So I'd definitely say those two.
The pressure question: best manager you played under?
I mean, I was playing with Glenn Hoddle when we were at Swindon. We got promoted to get into the Premier League. But forgetting that, I mean, Alan Ball was a manager, but it didn't go so well then. Ozzy Ardiles, we had so many managers. But for me, who got the best for me was, I'd have to say, Peter Reid. You know, I don't think we're best of mates, but as a manager, he got the best out. He knew what my strengths were. I went to Sunderland. I mean, Sunderland's a huge club, massive club. I mean, they went into the stadium alight. We were 47,000 every week. Kevin Phillips, now Quinn, were playing up front, and we just hit it off. And my job was just to put the ball into the box for them. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time there. You know, we went in the playoffs where we got beat by Charlton, which was our own fault, but another phenomenal game. Went to penalties at the end. You know, but the year after we ended up getting one of the highest points in the league and going to the Premier League. And that is some place to play football in the North East. I'm telling you, that is. I mean, I'll give you an idea. On a Tuesday night, they had a reserve team game, and I think Robbie Fowler was playing because he was injured. Steve McManaman was playing, and they let everybody in for free. There was 28,000 there on a Tuesday night
In the reserve game.
That is, and you look at where they are now. You know, it's second division, struggling for a buyer. And they went to Wembley last season, and they took 75,000 people down twice in Trafalgar Square full up. So you'd think if you were going to buy a football club, you'd definitely be looking at that one. So great times up there.
Yeah, it's a shame. Last question. Best player in the world currently? It's one of two, isn't it?
Oh, it's an hard one, that. Very, very, very difficult.
It's only opinion.
I'm going to say I'll probably I'm not going to say. I'm going to say the pair of them. I can't at all. But I'll tell you what.
Completely different players as well.
But that's absolutely, yeah. And I just think you for what they've done, you know, the competition that every year they just keep churning it out to watch. They deserve everything. I think you can't separate them. You're just stupid to separate them. You know, and they're looking for that trophy.
They've got so much respect for each other as well. I've seen a couple of interviews or seen some presentations, and they sit next to each other and they chat, and the rivalry goes right out the window from both club and individual. They're there to do a job. They're there because they love what they do. But you look at someone like Ronaldo. Ronaldo seems to have to work harder on the pitch and off the pitch to maintain that physique. He's now 35, I think he is, or just right there or thereabouts. He's probably going to go for another 7 years, that kid. I mean, I'm saying kid, he's 35. Then Messi's a different build. He's obviously had his, while he was nurturing and evolving as a player and as a person, Barcelona stood by him. He's a one club individual, but he just has this natural jinkiness, that King Klasi, that Aguero type player, to be able to, Maradona, dare I say it, to just be able to move around and be in the right place at the right time. And no one seems to be able to touch him. So they're completely different players, but fantastic for both of their abilities, and a joy to watch. And it's interesting to see other players now coming through, who's being recognised. Different players again, your Sanchos, your Haalands. There are a few decent players coming out of Germany at the moment, which I think is quite unusual. So it'd be interesting to see what happens over the next 10 years and when these guys are coming into the twilight of their careers and who's coming through. But let's ask you one final question. Is there anyone that you see coming through?
I'm just going to jump in there with you, but not as good as Diego Maradona. And you have to watch his video, what he's got out now. And you watch, I think a guy breaks his leg when he's playing for Barcelona. And you watch how physical it is as well. And you look at the pitches, and then all of a sudden you'll have a little bit more of an idea what Maradona was actually like. Another one on Netflix, but just watch it. It's phenomenal. And they are kicking lumps out of him. And he's just guiding past it. So, yeah, when we're talking, listen, it's great arguments, isn't it? That's what football's all about, debate. You know, that's where I'm only going to say that's what VAR takes out of football. So, well, it doesn't, to be honest with you. Sorry, it doesn't. We still have it. You know, but it's about me. It's about me and you go to a game of football, and we're coming outside. We're going to have something to eat, and we're, hang on, you're wrong there. He should have done. And that's what football's all about. It's opinions, you know.
And it's removed all of that conversation. The conversation is now onto VAR, and you wouldn't mind it if it was getting things right, but it's the fact that it's taking the excitement away and the doubt away. It's just basically, even when a goal was scored, you know, certainly in things like World Cups and you know, in big tournaments, you're not even sure what's going to happen. You know, is it a penalty? Is it not a penalty? Is it a goal? Is it not a goal? You know, the fans don't even know when to celebrate. So the emotions are completely changing. So football has obviously over the past 50 years, as we said, it's a completely different game now. And I miss the physicality. I miss seeing the physicality of football. You know, it was even worse. It was bad enough when you were watching European football versus Premier League or Scottish Premiership. But to now see it happening everywhere, that you cannot touch an individual, you can't have that physicality. It does take an element away from it.
But you know, you used to what, you know, if you were sick, you'd say, well, I'll tell you what, he's playing against Graham Souness next week. That's going to be a good battle. You know, it's an art to defend, very difficult. Yeah. It's an art to score goals. It's an art to cross a ball. But it's very difficult for these guys now because they can't tackle. If you're up against a Ronaldo, you're not allowed to whack him at the start or see what he's like under a little bit of a tough period. And I feel for the defenders. Defenders now can't do anything. They're not allowed to. They're just not allowed to. It's very difficult for them. You know, they've got to let them off the ball. One mistake changes the entire game. You know, penalty and a red card, and you're gone. See you later. Yeah, I see you. First 5 minutes, you get a yellow card against Ronaldo. It's curtains, isn't it? You can't go anywhere near it.
Well, that was it. You used to basically put in the first crunch and tackle just to tell them that you were there. And now you do that, you're either risking getting there's no time limit on a red card. Whereas back in the 80s and 90s, you gave you the first 10 minutes to get the first one in, and then they would calm it down.
Get that for free. That's
free.
Hey, just a that's just a warning. That my old man used to play.
Let him know.
My old man used to play against some of the players, and he used to say, which stand do you want to get kicked off? I'll kick you over that one or that one. I'm going to kick you all through this game. And that was it. And you had a bit of banter, and, you know, and at the end, you shake your hands and have a bit of fun with it, you know.
You've obviously been in Qatar a long time. And, you know, being sports in particular, from a Premiership perspective, has really, really taken off. You know, you've got Andy and Richard have come over, and of course they're flocked by, you know, people such as yourself, ex-professionals, coming in to give their advice on the modern game. Do you catch up with some of the sort of ex-professionals? With Peter Reid's obviously been here a number of times, Souness, etc., etc. Is it nice to reminisce with these guys that they're coming over to see what you Andy and Richard are doing nowadays?
No, that's great. Yeah, I mean, you'd say definitely there with Souness. I mean, to be in awe of somebody, you know, and to listen to him and to listen to his stories. I mean, he talks about when he was at Liverpool how basic it was. You know, they had no real plans. I think it was his first game, and no one had come up to him and said, you know, want you to hold in there. I want him to run it. He said, no one. So he's gone up to one of the players. He said, what does he want me to do today? And one of the players has gone back. He's gone, hey, Gaffer, he doesn't know what he's doing. And he just started laughing. He said, we just played five-a-side, and we just went out, and we all, you know, that's what it was. Then. That's what they had. All these stories, when you read them, is, you know, I played to a certain level. I'm nothing like what they were, all these top bracket players, you know, and to listen to their stories and to listen to the players who they played against I love that. You know, and that's what we can do now. That's what we're fortunate to do. You know, I think Arsene Wenger does a lot over there. You listen to what Arsene Wenger and how he talks is, you know, you really go, wow, it's, you know, his knowledge and everything is amazing. And that's what we can do now. From when the Premier League really started, it's a global brand thing now, you know, and that's why there's so many players who are all around the world now who've got jobs and are lucky enough to talk about it and to watch this talent. And I know it's fantastic, and especially being in Qatar, and especially being in Qatar, beautiful. And
on the golf course is open again, Nicky. Yeah, you can get the boys out in the golf course. Okay. I had got a couple of quick ones. I read an article last week from Mr. Hullett. At his time at Chelsea, and he was again explaining the training pitches and the changing rooms when he went to Chelsea, which is obviously not necessarily the team that it's been for the past, let's say, 20 years, 15, 20 years. And when he turned up, he had very, very fond memories. But interesting for such a legend like that to go there, and obviously again spends a lot of time here. I remember playing in one of the sponsored events with some of the BN guys, and a lot of the sort of pundits came down. Glenn Hoddle was there. He's a tall guy. I'm 6'3", and he was benching me. I was like,
he was my.
He doesn't look that tall.
He was my old, and what a player as well. He was my old manager
amazing.
at Sunderland. But what a lot of people didn't realise is when he came into management, he came from Monaco where he was playing, and the manager then was Arsene Wenger. So Arsene Wenger said, I think Arsene Wenger said, look, you've got to look at being a manager, and it's all, when you look at you look at Jose Mourinho, have you seen the Bobby Robson video? It is absolutely fantastic.
It's
and
amazing.
you look at it, he was with Bobby Robson when Guardiola was playing for Barcelona, and he's everywhere with Bobby Robson. And there's when he first goes into Barcelona, there's a bit of problems, I think, politically. So they've got to get the team going. So they pull Bobby Robson and they say, look, we need you to get a player which is going to get everyone's attention. We need a decent centre forward. He said, the guy, what's his name, Ronaldo, he doesn't look a bad player, from PSV. Wow. And then he all of a sudden comes, and does it get any better than that? Brilliant. You just look at the managers, and you look at the people who were they were with before, who influenced them. It's quite interesting.
I think that people compare. They don't compare football. They have their feelings on football. Rugby supporters have their feelings. Pardon me. Have their feelings on football, and vice versa. Football supporters have their feelings on rugby. But what I think, I wouldn't say it sets it apart, but the stories that you can get from football, the stories that appear just out of nowhere. The Bobby Robson story. You look at the documentary. And there's a second sort of story behind that, which is Mourinho and Guardiola. And
Absolutely.
You see how their journeys, you do a documentary on that and you see their journeys. People would think, is Mourinho envious of Guardiola? Did Guardiola use Mourinho as, a stepping stone or the motivation to do what he does? And did he learn from Mourinho? There's so many, and it's that talking point. It's that stories that we as football fans, whether we've been professional footballers or we've been professional footballers from behind the sofa and in front of the TV, as we all are, and we know what to do as a manager when we're in the stands. We have these stories, and it's just a different culture that we have, and we don't want that to disappear. But going back to the World Cup, that's what everyone's going to have in common when they come from all of those nations to this country. It happened in Russia. Everyone was just very complimentary of it. Everyone had fears that Russia was going to be strict and it was going to be stern, and it was amazing. It looked fantastic, and I'm pretty sure that would be the case here as well. Let's finish off with a funny story. We spoke about it the other day. You might as well throw it in there. Come on, who was the best man?
I thought he had. I thought, what's he going on about here now? I thought he didn't do me at the end.
I've got my notes. It's written down.
No, what it is is my dad's best man at his wedding was George Best, because George went to Manchester at the same time when Dad was there. They met in a coffee bar, and they had a friendship which went on until he passed away. And when he was Dad's best man at the wedding, so we have all the old photographs, wedding albums, if you like, and Mum is not looking at Dad in any of them. None of them. I said, are you going to have a look at Dad on these ones or what? No, he was the 5th Beatle at the time, good looking, not any interest at all. I said, well, what would you do? Look at Dad or George? He said, all the way through him. Yeah, so there's your little...
Brilliant. Nicky, that's been so good. We obviously need to catch up family-wise.
Where are you, by the way, with those in the back? You're not in the Bangkok Hilton, are you? With those shutters in the background?
No, they're not shutters. It's a facade. It's just, I'm in the Lego towers in Lucerne. That's where I am. So, and you're in the Chateau Summerbee in West Bay, probably. But yes.
What I'm going to do now is, can I just say, I've turned in. I mean, I'll challenge anyone. I've got to be the greatest barbecuer. Fantastic. I can cook you a steak. Honestly, I'm telling you, I'm not saying that as a
I
joke.
need
That's
looked
serious.
after.
That's what I've
I need
come out of
looked
this.
after for 2 months. My wife and children are leaving me. They're deserting me. They've had enough of the summer. They're leaving now that dates are being released. I'm on my own for 2 months. So I
Well,
need
I'll
looking
get the
after.
steak I do is phenomenal. I'm telling you, it's on the bone, fantastic. And I'm trying to fight with my garden at the moment. I'm not looking forward to my water bill because every time it's like sticking water on sand. I've been hammering. Now I went and got a new spray for the garden the other day, and it's like the old Bellagio, you know, in Las Vegas. As soon as I turn it on, my neighbour had a go at me. He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "Half the side of my house is drenched." And I put it on for about 20 minutes, and then I come back outside, and it's dry as a bone again. Yeah, going on gardening.
We're going to change the name of this podcast, honestly. The two expats instead of the two Ronnies, something like that. Nicky, honestly, fantastic to catch up. Really appreciate you taking your time as well. Much love to the family. We will catch up very, very soon. Stay on the line just for a couple of minutes. But thanks very much for your time, and we'll pop this out in the next few days. So look forward to it.
No problem.
Nicky Summerbee, thank you, sir.